Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Kane, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Wonderware NorCal. Thank you for attending our webinar today on how Wonderware helps California provide water and power to 25 million people. After the webinar this morning, we will be doing a short Q&A. Please type any questions or comments into the Q&A box, the chat box, or email us at webinar@norcal.wonderware.com. Now I'd like to introduce your presenters for today's webinar. Your first presenter is Mike Lapitan. Mike is an automation industry expert and has been with Wonderware NorCal for the last 8 years. Your second presenter will be Steve Ballard. Steve has over 20 years of control systems experience. For the last 10 years, he has been employed with the California Department of Water Resources and is currently a supervisor of a team of control engineers that designs, configures, implements, and maintains the Wonderware SCADA, Historian, and Information Server systems. Steve has extensive experience with a wide range of SCADA projects using different HMI software and control products, and has extensive knowledge of the SCADA systems and components used on the California State Water Project. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll turn it over to Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our webinar on how Wonderware helps California State Water Project. This is a new webinar for us, and we're really pleased to have Steve Ballard and thank him for taking the time to join us for this presentation and share about this successful project. As Kelly mentioned, I'm a product specialist here at Wonderware NorCal, so I get to go out in the field and work with customers directly in how they design, implement, and use SCADA software, and I get to help them leverage their investments with Wonderware so they get the most out of them. So we'll be doing a little bit of review on what Wonderware offers in the water and wastewater industry, and then we'll turn it over to Steve to talk about the California State Water Project. We'd like to quickly show you our website, norcal.wonderware.com. We have a SCADA page dedicated to water and wastewater solutions. So you can learn more about the products and solutions we have for water and wastewater. You can learn about customer success stories and case studies. We also offer workshops at our San Francisco office, which are free half-day events, hands-on in our training facility on how to take advantage of Wonderware software solutions, and you actually qualify for continuing education credits with the California Water Association and the Department of Public Health. You can register for our workshops here in our workshop schedule. We have a user conference coming up first week in November. That is actually full as of today, and we have classes coming up after that. InTouch, basically InTouch getting started hands-on, and we have a few seats available for that, and that's November 12th. And we'll probably open up a second day November 13th, so be sure to register for that. If you get on the wait list, we'll go ahead and create a second class on the 13th of November, and you can come to our training facility and get introduced to InTouch, how to build some basic screens, connect to a PLC, and it's a great introduction. So again, I'm going to do a quick review of Wonderware in the water and wastewater industry, and then we're going to hand over the controls to Steve to talk about the State Water Project. He's going to show you an overview of their control system and the Wonderware implementation, which includes System Platform, InTouch, Historian, as well as DMP3 integration, which is a specific protocol for electrical systems. They use Wonderware Information Server as well. He's going to talk about the benefits, and then we're going to open up the chat panel for Q&A. If you have questions during the webinar, do type them into the chat panel, and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. So Wonderware has been around since 1987. It is the #1 HMI and SCADA software in the world. So we have the biggest install base, and the reason why Wonderware is so popular is because of its ease of use, because of its great support, and very proven, reliable, and great reputation in the marketplace in those regards. Over 750,000 licenses to date at over 150,000 locations, and we have 3,500 system integrators that support Wonderware globally. And if you put in Wonderware up to 25 years ago when we first came out, you can still run that original application on Windows 7 and now Windows 8 today without having to rebuild that application. So been around the longest and provide the best preservation of an investment moving forward. Wonderware NorCal has been your Wonderware resource since 1992. We provide local training and technical support Training is based out of our San Francisco office. Technical support is based here in Northern California in the Bay Area, so everything is local. Wonderware, the corporate, is down in Southern California in Lake Forest, and that is where development is headquartered out of, as well as there's additional training you can take out of the Wonderware corporate office in Lake Forest. I mentioned we offer free workshops. Those are to get you educated on how to take advantage of Wonderware solutions. And, of course, we offer webinars like the one today. And we offer system consulting, and that's where we can talk about your project needs and requirements, help you design a system, figure out best practices, and how to take advantage of software and technology to help solve automation problems and needs. We work with 70 registered system integrator partners here in Northern California, so if you're looking for somebody to help you with a project, we can recommend somebody in your area with expertise in your industry. I mentioned we have local technical support based here in the Bay Area. It's Daniel Nicholas you see a picture of there. 90% of all our calls are answered live. Typically, that's a typical month, May 2014. You can reach us at support@norcal.wonderware.com. And again, so our commitment to you is that to get your questions answered now so that you can keep developing your projects, keep moving forward, not having to wait for support overseas, somebody who isn't familiar with the products. We are committed, dedicated to providing you with the best technical support available. Wonderware's mission for water and wastewater is to deliver products that help water and wastewater customers provide reliable and affordable service with high quality water and compliance with regulatory requirements. So in water and wastewater, there's a requirement for continuous monitoring to the Department of Public Health, and so Wonderware helps with that continuous monitoring as well as the data collection and reporting to prove that we are operating according to plan and according to our requirements. And so Wonderware is great at doing that very easily, simplifying the job for our customers. Wonderware is a corporate member of major water trade associations. This is water and wastewater is definitely in the top 2 or 3 industries of manufacturing automation. Food and beverage and water and wastewater are certainly the 2 biggest industries that we serve. Wonderware is everywhere in water and wastewater here in Northern California. It's definitely the leader, and the majority of installed of water and wastewater plants is Wonderware. This number here, the last official number, was done a few years ago, 28,000 licenses in water and wastewater applications worldwide, and I certainly would be surprised if it wasn't 50,000 licenses or more to date. We have a free graphics library specifically for water and wastewater, and so that's a graphical library of instrumentation and equipment and faceplates that is common to water and wastewater, again, to help you get started with your projects and to minimize the development effort and time required in building your projects. Wonderware NorCal provides a variety of SCADA solutions. For Wonderware, starting up here on the top left, we have low-cost operator panels with what's called Wonderware Machine Edition. So if you need a local operator panel at a piece of equipment, at a filter, at a remote pump station, we have a very cost-effective operator panel offering. We have traditional InTouch, which InTouch is the world's leading HMI we'll talk about. That allows you to do your monitoring of your plant and equipment and control. So you can actually change set points, turn things on and off, acknowledge alarms. And then we also have InTouch read-only, and so that is for folks that don't have authorization, don't have the need to control the plant, to turn things on and off and change set points, but they want to be able to monitor, so we have InTouch read-only. Over on the right-hand side, we have our Historian, and so that is the database for collecting and storing long-term data for trending analysis, historical and real-time analysis of trending information, as well as reporting. And so reporting is a big requirement in water and wastewater, and so Historian is certainly a great tool that a lot of our customers use to satisfy the reporting requirements. We can provide remote alarm notification. Most oftentimes, plants are not staffed 24/7, and so you can get, if you have alarms, you can get a phone call, an email, or a text message notifying you that there's an alarm, and then you can remote into the system, see what's going on, see if you need to actually drive into the plant. So that actually helps a lot with saving on overtime, preventing people from having to drive into the plant unnecessarily. We also have what's called System Platform. That's in large part what we're going to be talking about today with Steve's project. And System Platform is a way to build up your SCADA system with best practices, scalability, maintainability, reusability, redundancy, a lot of great benefits to System Platform we're going to talk about today. It still uses InTouch as the user interface, as the front end, so the operator doesn't see any changes as far as the user interface goes. But System Platform in the back end, how the system is built up, much more modern, maintainable way compared to traditional HMIs. We can provide remote access via thin clients or laptops or tablets. We'll talk more about that. We provide radios from Satel for wireless radio applications. We have an enterprise historian offering, which Steve is going to talk about, and that's how you can share plant data with your business, with your district, with your customers very securely without giving them access to the SCADA network. You can share that information via a web page. You can look at live screens, trends, alarms, and reports. We also provide computerized maintenance management system solutions through ER Portal for asset management and maintenance management work orders. And if you want data on the go on your phone, if you just want to see your plant data to make sure you're operating according to plan, and you want to be able to quickly troubleshoot on the fly from your phone, we have what's called Smart Glance. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we also offer long watch video surveillance solutions. So whether it's for operational or security reasons, we offer security cameras and software that integrates with SCADA. And then finally, we offer Customer First, which is our Wonderware support that gives you our awesome technical support and free software upgrades moving forward. So a little bit about System Platform. It's a scalable, object-oriented development environment. What does that mean for you? It means that as your system grows over time, as you add more instrumentation, more equipment, more pump stations and lift stations, that you can grow the system in a maintainable fashion, in a very efficient fashion. So if you've got commonality in pump stations or lift stations, RTUs, you can create standards. You can create a standard template that you use for your RTUs, your pump stations, and you can reuse that template over and over. If you add a new RTU, it makes it very simple to cookie cutter that out and drive changes through the parent template. So if you ever want to change the way something alarms, the way a graphic looks, the way a trend looks, you can make that change at a parent template level, and all the changes can be propagated to all of your pump stations or lift stations. So if you've got a lot of remote sites that are very similar, System Platform really is an ideal way to enforce standards and leverage reusability so that you can reduce your engineering costs and time. And that's what Steve's going to talk about on what they were able to do. With System Platform, you create a plant data model. So instead of a traditional tag name list, you actually build up a data model that matches your physical plant and areas and equipment. So the data is structured very logically. It makes it much more easier for people to find the information they're looking for when they're doing development to maintain that system long-term as your system grows. System Platform includes out-of-the-box store and forward redundancy to the historian, as well as providing redundant historians. So again, as we start to collect our historical data for regulatory reporting, it becomes very critical that we don't have any gaps in our historian data. But computers do go down, right? It's a fact of life. They have to get upgraded over time, and so we can get around the gaps in data with the built-in store and forward, so that if your historian ever goes down, planned or unplanned, we can automatically go into store and forward. When the historian comes back online, it gets automatically backfilled without you having to do any scripting or have any knowledge of databases. So System Platform is a platform for growth. It can tie into other systems, whether that be your maintenance management system or your GIS system. We also have additional capabilities that can be plugged in for workflow, as well as energy management, mobile workforce, and integration with the cloud. So again, all of these things that people need to do beyond SCADA. System Platform allows you to grow as you need to integrate SCADA into other applications. And so really, System Platform is the technology leader in the SCADA marketplace, allowing you to future-proof your SCADA system and increase your efficiency to lower costs. Here's an example system platform architecture with 2 clients. So you'd have 2 workstation clients with a historian, and that would include all your historian trending and Excel-based reporting, phone technical support and software upgrades at around $10,000, and that it was everything you would need for a fully redundant system with 2 clients. So just an example how you can get started with system platform very cost effectively. That system would support 1,000 I/O, and then if you grew beyond that, then you could upgrade to the next larger system, which would be 5,000 I/O system. InTouch, just a little bit of review. That's, again, the world's leading HMI since 1987. Reputation for being the easiest to use. We've done continued development with new orchestra graphics and the situational awareness library. The core functions are visualization to monitor your processes, alarming, and control to control your plant. There's built-in trending into InTouch. There's built-in redundancy to InTouch as well to have redundant computers, and a simple scripting engine, which is very popular. Some of the other SCADA products on the market require you to use more advanced scripting editors, requiring you to, again, learn more that you may not necessarily want to become a programmer, a software programmer. Wonderware is very much about out-of-the-box functionality and configuration, not custom building your HMI and becoming a software developer. InTouch Access Anywhere, again, the continued development and support of InTouch. You can now access InTouch via a web page. So that means as long as your device has a browser like Safari or Firefox or Chrome or Internet Explorer, you can access your InTouch system, whether that's from a tablet, a smartphone, a laptop, a desktop, any device with a browser, you can access InTouch via a web page. And we do that with what's called InTouch Access Anywhere. The Wonderware Historian is an invaluable tool for SCADA systems, again, as we need to collect and store our data for regulatory reporting, for troubleshooting, for maintenance purposes. It's great, all the use cases that I hear from our water and wastewater customers, how they've been able to save millions of dollars just by analyzing their data and able to optimize their plant, not having to go out and do capital projects for new equipment, for new plants, because they're able to optimize their existing equipment, their existing processes with the data in the historian, and it makes it so easy to access that data. Again, you don't have to be a database programmer. You don't have to learn structured query language like other SCADA databases force you to learn SQL if you want to actually use your data. So Historian lets anybody access the data very easily so that you can solve your problems and decrease the costs of maintaining your plants. And Historian's been around longer than any other industrial plant historian. It's a technology leader. We have an add-in right into Microsoft Excel, so make sure to check out our workshops on plant reporting. We'll show you how right inside of Excel you can access your plant data without having to be a SCADA programmer or know anything about databases. And we also have a query tool, again, which allows you to do data mining, allows you to go in, query the historian database, look at your data, point-and-click interface, and you can see in the middle here, in the middle of this green circle, that structured query language. It builds that for you behind the scenes. All you have to do is pick the tags, pick the start time and end time, how you want to retrieve that data. It'll show you the result of that data set and the query. You can bring that data into Excel, and it's building up the structured query language behind the scenes. Again, with other SCADA products that just have a link to a SQL Server database, you have to write this structured query language yourself in order to retrieve the data. Very time-consuming, takes a specialized skill set. If you don't have the time and the desire to go out and learn a database programming language, the Historian is definitely for you. And then we also have Tier 2 historian capabilities, which allow you to push data from your SCADA network very securely through a firewall to an enterprise historian on the business domain. That allows you to share your plant data with anybody very securely. And so we get this all the time where people need access to the data in their office. They need to give their customers sometimes access to the data, but you don't want to give people access to the historian on your SCADA network, because now you're opening up vulnerability, potential for cybersecurity concerns. You don't want people that are non-operators on your SCADA network. So give people access to your plant data on the business network with a Tier 2 historian. And that's what Department of Water Resources does, and Steve's going to show you an example of that. And then finally, we have a mobile app called Smart Glance. You can download this today for free to see what the data looks like on your phone. And this allows you to access your plant data very quickly and easily with an app on your phone. So imagine just like you open up your email or you go to Facebook on your phone, you can go and you can see your near real-time and historical data on your phone to make sure that things are running the way they should be. If there's an issue, you can quickly figure out where things are going wrong, and so you can resolve it. That's called Smart Glance. You can download that from the App Store for free today. Okay, so that's all I have for the review on the Wonderware solutions that we offer for water and wastewater. I'd like to turn the controls over to Steve Ballard right now and let him talk about the California State Water Project and how they used Wonderware to help.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Steve.
Mike and Steve, I'm going ahead and this is Kelly. I'm passing the controls over to you, so you should be able to show your screen.
And hopefully everybody can see that.
Yes,
Kelly,
I can.
Mike,
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, excellent. Hey, thanks, Mike, for the introduction, Kelly, and special thanks to Wonderware NorCal for allowing me the opportunity to speak here. This is a great opportunity for me, as well as hopefully for all the users that are out there of Wonderware, InTouch, and System Platform. I tried to gear this presentation to be a general overview, not to go into too much detail. However, at any time after this presentation, I'm more than happy to get emails from folks, talk about these things in more detail, how and where you are in your system. No matter if you're a new customer to Wonderware and Wonderware NorCal, or you're an existing InTouch user, or you're considering upgrading to a System Platform, or perhaps you're already a System Platform user, or you're just curious about how we've implemented a system. This presentation is kind of geared towards that. I'm just trying to give you guys an understanding of what we've done, how we've made it work, and what works for us. And so please contact me after this presentation or anytime. So overview, basically we'll go through the State Water Project, the control systems upgrade, and cover the components of System Platform. So with that, I don't want to be a bullet reader, so just for everyone's sake out there, please visit the Wonderware, or the Water website here to get all the facts and information. But some of the key items about the State Water Project, it's got we're the largest consumer of power in California, and we're also one of the fourth largest producer of power in California, and we produce about 6,500 gigawatt hours annually of energy, so it's quite a large system. It's very critical to the infrastructure of California. Again, read all these facts later at your leisure, but please visit the website if you want some more information. So the facilities that we run, over the 700 miles of canals and pipelines, major facilities, lots of information coming in, lots of data out there. And our SCADA system, the Wonderware System Platform, is prevalent or in most of these facilities. So a couple key fun items here. We call it the Big Lift down at Edmonston Pumping Plant. It's near the Tehachapi's. It has the largest, highest water lift over 2,000 feet in the world. You can search the term Big Lift online and find all sorts of photos on that. As well as Lake Oroville, the dam. It's actually the tallest dam in the United States. It's even taller than Hoover, and this dam's about 770 feet tall. So quite impressive infrastructure, and Wonderware System Platform is a key element to a lot of success in how we operate the aqueduct. So again, just talking about our business and what we did and why we're doing what we're doing now. The big project is about us upgrading 2 SCADA systems, and Wonderware is one of those. And we're also replacing 320 controllers. So there's quite a big decision, and to make that business case was very important for the California state, as well as all of our contractors, on why we decided to do this around 2002. So not to go through all the goals or the benefits, but they're pretty apparent. But in order to do that, we had to justify why we were doing that, and these are most of the reasons. Some of the key elements there, though, we wanted to emphasize moving towards a centralized control, moving from our other regions in California out towards Sacramento. We did want to reduce our complexity of the systems. System Platform really helps with that. We wanted to minimize our costs to our state water contractors, which are 29 of them, and we wanted to get rid of all old equipment, and evergreening was an important part of that. So as I said, not to go too much into the business side of things, but over time, back in 2002, we started what's called the Future Operations Group. But around that time in the early 90s, as I think Mike said around 87, Wonderware was listed as #1, we started with InTouch. So if you're an old 7.1 user, We still have InTouch out there, and they're still at our major plants, but there's about 30 of them. So down in our architecture phase, when we were developing, we decided to upgrade to system platform, and there's many reasons why we did, and some of them are pretty apparent when you start to use it, but those are details we can cover outside this. We decided to purchase the software around 2008, and from that part, we started implementing in around 2010. So for the last 4 years, up to this date, we've put in 24 servers and 30 workstations, all running system platform. There are still legacy applications out there. I think we've upgraded to 9.5, and very important for us to get off those just because they're very old versions of software. So the control systems overview. So to give a little bit more background on the State Water Project, just to give you an idea of how broad it is and the field divisions that we control using Wonderware, there's 5 of them, starting up at Oroville all the way down towards San Bernardino. And each of these field divisions have all those facilities that you saw on the prior slide, and Wonderware is present in all of these field divisions, as well as the historians and the enterprise historian up in Sacramento. Just to note that Edmonston pumping plant is down in this area here. So the 3 main components of our upgrade project, and this slide's a little cluttered, but I tried to mimic it after Mike's a little bit. And what I'm trying to show here is the business domain that Mike showed, as well as the SCADA domain. And what we have here is on the top part, we have the business domain, and we have the SCADA area as well, which is the 5 field divisions. But the focus for the presentation is really just on the blue squares or the Wonderware components. And so for that, one emphasis here that Mike was talking about was the enterprise historian and how that's a vital amount of data that goes there from our device level, which is our DMP3 or our electronic devices and controllers, all the way up to the global historian. Presenting data out towards our users is very important, and that comes via either the Wonderware information server or using things such as file transfers and SQL out of the enterprise historian. And a lot of that data is used for regulation and environmental reports. It's very critical for our data consumers to have that information at a convenient access. And I'll show you some of those examples. One of the most important parts about system platform is its deployment from the actual Wonderware Galaxy or the Galaxy repository node towards the InTouch HMIs, as well as the servers out there. And that is a very, very great benefit for us in such a large system and how we push out our objects in our programming. So I think, as Mike was saying, it's a cookie cutter approach. You develop in one place, you push out multiple times, similarities to other locations. It's a very important aspect. Just a little quick review then on our users of the Wonderware plant SCADA system. I grade this area out, it's our other system. Obviously, I'm passionate about Wonderware, so I don't want to talk about that. But the users are along this column, and their primary needs are for the control of their area control centers and their field divisions. But the maintenance staff and the engineer staff, they have to have our plant SCADA and Wonderware because it contains all the data, it's historizing all the data, and it's used for troubleshooting, engineering analysis, post-mortem on like pump trips, plant trips, and such. Also for Wonderware, again, just a revisit of its jobs, it is the maintenance system. It has all the data that the other system has a subset of it. One thing really important Mike mentioned earlier is about DMP3 reporting or sequence of events data down to the millisecond is extremely important for us to retrace what's happened at our plants and our facilities. Another nice part about Wonderware and its ability to communicate across different types of networks is we use it as a lifeline, we call it. It's still hooked to the primary network, but in this case, our other system doesn't have that connection to the backup network. So it has an ability to connect to slow-speed serial connections, and that's a very critical part. And again, it's a data source for the historians and supports our business network. So now we're getting a little bit more detail. You saw the graphic that I did with all the colors, and now let's move into an actual layout of an Oroville field division, as you saw in Northern California, of the architecture for system platform and InTouch. So as in Mike's diagram and in mine, we had the process network at the field level, and this shows all of our controllers. This is just a small sampling of eventually the 320 that we're going to replace. But the next layer, then we have our application object servers, and then at the SCADA layer, we still have our HMIs, which are those that run InTouch. And all these items are deployable. All these items come out of the Galaxy repository node that we deploy down. This display is updated centrally and pushed out globally. It's a great feature of Wonderware. Another system display, this one's at our Southern Field Division. Again, the maintenance of the system, the maintenance of the data that we have is so critical, and Wonderware supports that in its historians. And so for this example, we have all the detailed data. You can see the controllers in each card and the information that's in each card. So if there's a fault, such as this Barker Slough turnout down in Southern California, if there's an error on it, we get a warning. That gets alarmed, gets presented up at the viewer, at the InTouch, as well as it can go beyond up into the global historian if we need to do some analysis, some statistics on those things. It's really important. As well as you notice here, I'm not sure if you can see it, it says Lifeline. So we have two types of networks. One, we have our primary network, and then we have our backup network. So in this example, on this day, we had some problems down at some Lifeline circuits on some serial side. It was very helpful for us. It keeps track of all those statistics. It's a great tool. So InTouch. So a lot of bullet items here, but I just wanted to say with System Platform and InTouch, it's not going to do the work for you. I mean, you really, and my big thing that I get pushed down from our bosses is you really have to have an approach on how you use the software. And it just doesn't turn it on and it does everything for you. So it's really important as a user, as a new user, or someone who's just learning how to use System Platform, or even InTouch, is to develop standards and to develop your requirements. Again, we are using InTouch windows inside our System Platform or our Orchestra-built displays. And as Mike was saying, this is really helpful. We build it in one location and we push it out. If we make one change to an InTouch window, that change will permeate to all those other HMIs that you saw on that system diagram. So it's a really great tool. Same thing with the graphic templates. There's symbols in there, pump symbols and such, that if we change once, heck, it's really easy. It changes all the other places once we deploy out. But again, you're only as good as, in my mind, you got to feed and you got to care your design, and the way you do that is with requirements. And in order to make a successful implementation of System Platform in any SCADA system, you got to have standards. You got to drive them with consistency. You got to have display configurations that are based on how the users want them. They're driven by functional requirements. The standards are absolute. They really help us retain the knowledge. They help us with staff on understanding what the standards are as they come in. And it really helps align expectations with our operators and establishes agreements with them. So we don't sit around and say, oh, that'd be cool, let's go ahead and do that. And then we just go ahead and do it. And System Platform really helps force you to set these standards and document those standards. And it's really a great tool just for sustainability with your staff and really helping set that benchmark of data. So for future generations of engineers or control engineers or system upgrades, you have that information there. And with System Platform, it really helps and forces you to have those models and those graphics standardized. Again, reducing costs and our consistency of how we're reducing the maintenance of maintaining different types of displays. System Platform forces you to do that. So we have goals in our InTouch displays that all 5 field divisions have the same look and feel. Operators may shift between control centers, and so it's really important for those displays to be similar throughout the California aqueduct, and that's been very helpful. So they don't go to one place, oh, this is totally different than the last. Finally, the other displays we used to have were so complex. So with Wonderware, they're very good about recommendations, and if you go to some of their seminars or even the Wonderware conferences, they talk a lot about displays and high-performance graphics and how they do, and it supports that. So we try to keep things simple, and we try to hide a lot of the detailed data. So here's an example of a display, and it's simplicity. We just have 3 gates. It's really straightforward. And again, this is for one check site of 66 of them on the aqueduct. Again, the structure is similar. The graphics are the same. So these symbols all come out of the graphics library and System Platform. So you change this type of element once or that element once, and it'll get deployed out to all the other displays and HMIs on your system. We hide a lot of the detailed data through the pop-up. So again, this this pop-up here is a symbol, and it too is structured through system platform. So you change it, it moves out. Here's how it used to look. So when I was saying the displays were all over the place, we had differences in background colors, we had differences in the symbols of the pumps, if you can notice from here to here, even those symbols, and the alarm animations were all different. It really forced us to be consistent. I can't keep saying that word enough, but it really does help in the long run. So here's some new displays that we made that are to show you a little bit of samples of this pump symbol that's the same from one pumping plant to a fish facility. So we have similarity between those view apps. The process lines are the same. The graphics and thickness of the lines all come out of one standard template library. We also try to make the system display similar to our other ones. So it really helps in those standards. Historians. So almost done here. You got probably about 10 more minutes. With historians, we have the 5 field divisions that you saw in your map before. And down the whole state water project is our business network, as well as our SCADA network. And those local historians are located in each field division, containing about that much data. I just took a poll yesterday to see how much data we had. And that's where all the data resides. We then added an enterprise historian between 2 firewalls, and we call this area the DMZ. So it's not on the SCADA network, nor is it on the business network. And as Mike was saying earlier, it is protected by firewalls. So a lot of this data, we decide whether or not to replicate up to the historian or to the global historian. From there, we then add in the information server on the business network to access to the tier 2 historians. One thing to note is how much data we've replicated, and this is just a rough estimate. We want to lower this number to some extent, but again, it goes back to standards on why we want to replicate all this local data. And if we do decide to do it, it's very easy to do. It's a simple click, right click, group them all over, push them up over here. They'll show up on your Wonderware information server. It's a great, great, great tool. That was historians. Let's move on to the DMP3. We, as I said, we have sequence of events that we really need to track, and using an IED or intelligent electronic device, we've implemented devices out in the field for high-speed protection for our hydroelectric and pumping plants. We chose the Smart SCADA engine product, worked with Wonderware NorCal on purchasing that, and the nice part about this was it's very easy to implement. Using the integrated development environment, so for your system platform users, that's the term used for like your database. It's kind of like the tag name dictionary. We developed the model and dumped the data into your topic definitions, added the attributes, put the tags on there, modeled it, and deployed it out. Worked great. We tied it back to the Smart SCADA engine device IO server, and it's been working fine. Ever since we installed it, it was pretty straightforward. And finally, the Wonderware information server. We're replacing our old, we call it the ISR or storage retrieval system. It's on an Oracle database. This thing was made back in the early 90s. It served its time, but as I said in the business drivers, we're reducing complexity, we're trying to save costs, we're trying to make it easy to maintain. And the easiest solution for us was Wonderware Information Server. It works directly with the historians. It works very well accessing that data. One of the biggest keys is that it's really, really easy and convenient for users to get to the historical data, as Mike said, on the DMZ side or the not the SCADA side, and that is a big key for us. Again, the data is used for maintenance and troubleshooting and a lot of the regulatory reports. They access it through the business network. And again, heck, if I could do it, I guess even my engineers, I mean, it's out of the box, literally. When I started to learn this, I took it, ran with it. I was already able to get trend and query working, and it was very straightforward. There is a lot of customization you can do to that, and that's for later conversation or follow-ups. But the one thing about Wiz, it is a great tool for data consumers. They retrieve, and our policy here is we do like to produce reports, but again, they're driven by requirements. But what we want to do is provide that data to the users, let them retrieve it themselves. They can come up with their own reports and produce them. There are many tools with inside Information Server that you could have them build their own reports and do that. At this time, we haven't done that yet. But what it does is that once they get the data, they see how much data they can have. It helps the end user, the data consumer, to come up with what reports they want. And then, yes, at some other future date, we can then start to provide those through our Launchpad and put those reports in there. And we've done that to many cases. We have sent out files or FTP data to customers at a frequency that they need, and it goes towards people that don't have access to our SCADA system but need it for those types of reports. It's a great tool, and the historians in SQL provide you that FTP type of a data. It's a great tool. So even coming out of the box, you can produce reports like this to do some analysis on alarms and such. This spreadsheet was made, and Mike mentioned it in his earlier slide, was about the Historian Client Excel add-in. So this report, if you recall, my system diagram is showing you all the communication channels. So we call it the polling status page, and it shows you all the live data through Information Server from everyone's desktop on the business network, and they can get an update of what our system's doing and how the alarms are occurring and polling. This spreadsheet was very easy to set up. It connects right in from Excel into our historian, the global historian. They click on one button and it shows it, and even our chiefs of each field division use this to monitor. It's a really great tool. There's so much more you can do with Excel, producing reports and putting in fields that directly connect towards the SCADA system. It's pretty cool. Another example of the report, and this is kind of a funny one. These are our alarm reports over the last 24 hours. And we used SQL integration services and Visual Studio to produce these reports. But what was really interesting is we started to do this, and we were really bad at managing our alarms, and we knew that. We knew we weren't the greatest at it. But when we started producing reports, like, oh my gosh, we had 60,000 points coming in as an alarm from one site in the last 24 hours. We had another site down here that had over 1,000 alarms in one day. And in some ways, it's great to know that, because you really want to manage your system, and managing alarms is huge. But the benefit of Information Server and running SQL and having your historians is the ability to do these types of summary state points where you can really find problems with your systems and performances, and this helps in like predictive analysis too, or knowing, oh my gosh, this system's going to start having problems if we don't do something about these alarms. You could overload memory and things like that. So the other bad part about this in some ways is that your bosses know this is here too, so it's a great way to measure performance. And another neat part about it is you could drill down into each one of these, and you could find out more details about these alarms. So Wonderware Information Servers is great. It's just got a ton of stuff. And again, can't stress just setting your requirements and your standards to help design what you need to do for your implementation is really important. I think my final slide is just to wrap up and just kind of talk about the benefits from the system platform being the integration development side, historian and information server. So in summary, it just saves time building displays and deploying those displays. Again, it's care and feeding. You got to put some work up front to start setting your system platform. And we worked a lot with Wonderware NorCal and our distributor and their consultants to help us understand what the right way to do this is. And I can't stress that enough, is to find that resource for you, from Mike to the folks at Wonderware NorCal, to help you in making sure you do your system right. The benefits are as consistency and implementation. It promotes the standardization. Historian, again, super easy to use. The Tier 1 and Tier 2 allows you to put data in the spots where you want it. Trend and query are great for the users. Information server, again, it's really out of the box. You can get the basic services running, and yes, there's a lot of customization to do. And I didn't talk about security, but we use the OS group-based security, and it integrates with our domain network and the Active Directory, and it's just been great. It wasn't hard to set up. It ties directly in there. So if we make changes to passwords, user accounts, it's also capitalizing on our Active Directory. And there's a lot to understand with cyber infrastructure protection programs. We are falling under the lines of NERC and FERC requirements, and Wonderware supports all those regulatory requirements in cyber infrastructure. So those are the benefits, and that's pretty much the whole presentation. So I talked pretty fast. I hope I kept everybody there. And again, please talk to me later if you doubt. My email's right there. But other than that, Mike, Kelly, thanks.
Sure,
Great,
thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. That was really appreciate that. And I just wanted to expand on the security bullet there. That beyond the integration with the domain-based security, it also goes into who has the ability to do writes and control in the InTouch user interface. So you don't have to custom script that like you do with other HMI systems. So you can, through basically user groups, roles, and checkboxes, who has the rights to access development, who has the rights to access what objects in development, who has the rights to do control in runtime and do change set points, acknowledge alarms. And so you don't have to do that in scripting like you do in other SCADA packages where you have to set access levels and people have access levels, and it's just not a maintainable type of security environment. So the system platform security is definitely the best in the industry when it comes to ease of use and supporting maintaining users and what rights do they have. So yeah.
Totally agree with you, Mike. That's totally true.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Steve. And Kelly, do you have any questions in the chat panel?
We do have a few that have come in. Again, if you do have any questions, you can just type them into the Q&A box or the chat box. The first one, I think, is for you, Steve. What are some of the key activities that helped in the successful implementation of your Wonderware system?
Oh, that's a great question. As we start to get good about what we've learned on how to use it, looking back on what we've done and how we would do it better, again, stressing the planning and design from the templates and the model and how it fits your equipment and processes is really, really important. There's great tools from Wonderware on the web page as far as the deployment guide. Again, using NorCal or our customer support was very helpful at guiding us on how to implement the system. There are some tips and tricks, but they're very accessible, and that was a really good key activity there. Again, establishing guidelines and standards was really one of the more important parts. We still look back at those standards and those guidelines, and we're always challenging with that. And it really puts a control on how you implement from, like Mike, you're saying, the security policies, your displays, and your configuration, and following those is very important. So those are probably the big activities I can think of.
Okay, great, thank you. Another one that came in are, what are some reasons why you use tiered historians?
Yeah, well, I'm sure Mike can give me some reasons also, but where we found it very useful for using tiered historians was it allowed us to put the data where we wanted to use it. It summarizes the data up to the tier 2s, which was a great way to get just like global data, essential data for those business users. It helps reduce the amount of data at that global historian side, but the tier 1s keeps data at the local level. So in case of some data loss protection, you're only losing, for our case we had the 5 field divisions, we're only losing a fifth of the data if that historian goes down. Of course with servers you do have RAID backups and everything, and you are archiving your data appropriately, but it puts the data closer to the main users for us, which were the maintenance and troubleshooting users. Other than that, the geographic area for us was so large that we didn't want to just have one global historian or one historian in one spot. There's some issues that you might consider with network speeds and access and stuff like that. So it really helps with your local historians and tier 1s, separating those and putting them closer towards your switches and your networks.
Thank you. And it looks like this is the last one for now. What maintenance activities do you perform, and then how many people do you have working on your Wonderware system?
How many people and what maintenance activities do we do? Well, that's always the struggle with resources. I got too much work to do. But right now, what's great about System Platform and InTouch, it's easy to maintain, and we have 2 employees that are the engineers inside of our branch. They're the ones that maintain it, and they're the ones that have worked with. We did have a consultant on site, but they're the ones that have helped and engineered it and deployed it out. Their daily activities for maintenance are fairly reduced, and a lot of that is just because the reliability of the system. But things like for maintenance activities such as patches, software updates, Microsoft updates, all those are essential. The System Platform and InTouch have really great system management console for diagnostics. There's times that we do data archiving that we try to do those frequently for the historian. So those are things that we do, but we automate those. Other than that, just getting on your system every day is a maintenance activity that we have to do just to make sure it's working, and talking to our customers also is a good maintenance activity. So.
Great. And 1 second, I think one more just came in. 1 second. Any difficulty setting up DNP3 or SEO data, or SOE data, sorry?
Yeah, the setting up, as I mentioned in my presentation, it was pretty straightforward. There's always challenges from when coming into a new driver, something you are familiar with. In SOE, DNP3 protocol is exception-based. It's complicated in some ways, but you do have to understand the protocol and its topics and its definitions on how it works. With the support from Wonderware, they were helpful at setting up how to integrate that into the engines, we call it, within Inside System Platform, as well as picking the right driver to support you and having that support contract. Some of the challenges where you fight with it a little bit, just making sure, why isn't it working? You try to circle, am I connected to it? I think I got the registers right. There's always those challenges, but using your research that you've done as the engineering level, the design, and methodically going through that approach and breaking it down into simple parts really helped us make that product work the way that we needed to work. They wrote this driver and it's used throughout the industry, so someone's got it right. And so we did talk to other folks too to find out the best way to use it. So yeah, there were struggles, but for the most part, I'd say it went pretty well.
Okay, great. And I think that's our last question. So thank you very much, Steve. This was great. And thank you, Mike. And so this will wrap up our presentation. If anyone would like to review any portion of this webinar, a recording will be available on our website, norcal.wonderware.com, later this afternoon. And again, you can find more information about future webinars on our website as well. So thanks, everyone, for attending this morning. Have a good weekend, and go Giants.
Thank you, everybody.